Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is actually a continuation of my last video where we were exploring some exhibits currently on view in Chelsea in New York. You definitely don't have to watch them in order, so if you haven't seen that one yet, I encourage you to watch it after this one. I will leave it linked above and below. The first stop for this video is going to be Kasmin Gallery to see an exhibit of works by Bosco Sodi. And I was very lucky to be able to visit Bosco Sodi's relatively new studio in Mexico City earlier this year, which I will leave that video linked above and below as well if you'd like to see that. But Bosco Sodi is a Mexican artist who's known for creating these minimalist, highly textured sculptures. This exhibit bounces between things that are different but made within the same image of the other at the same time. So for example, there are sculptures and paintings in the show, but even the paintings have an imprint of being a sculpture. The show highlights man-made creations produced by Sodi, but it also highlights natural creation, which is ultimately where we as humans get our inspiration and our desire to create. The sculptures in the center of the room are three spheres made of Oaxacan clay, where one is left unglazed, one is glazed in gold, and one is broken open. And the sculptures show the creation of an artist like Sodi, particularly with Sodi's golden sphere, as well as the creation of nature, which we can see in the broken sphere where a sprout of corn is growing. For his paintings, Sodi intentionally uses the colors black, red, purple, and green to represent various aspects of life and creation. So green represents vitality, red represents fire and sun, purple and black are meant to represent the universe. You can also see the imprint of nature on each painting, sometimes in a really obvious way, like with indentations from tree branches, and sometimes in not so obvious ways, like how gravity manipulates the materials to fall. To create these paintings, he uses his hands to manipulate paper and pigment into this incredible texture. Our next stop is Lehmann Maupin Gallery, and I'm not gonna lie, I have seen Larry Pittman's works at tons of art fairs over the years, but I honestly knew very little about him until I saw this exhibit, but apparently he is quite the feminist warrior. If you're not familiar with Larry Pittman like I was, he's an American artist who lives and works in LA, and he went to Cal Arts for his MFA and BFA. And this is significant because Cal Arts is known for having this really strong feminist arts program. And it's here that Pittman started to embrace an artistic style that really pays homage to the handmade, craft, and the decorative. These are all things that historically have been undervalued in art because they're often associated with women. This exhibit features 8 new works that continue to elaborate on his, quote, ongoing study of cities and the mechanisms that transform them into civil societies. The amount of detail in the works is not only a nod to the decorative arts, but it's also meant to represent Pittman's views on the fact that a, quote, civil society is a complex society. This montage of the egg has appeared throughout Pittman's practices starting as early as 1980, and it's meant to represent regeneration. So in these works, Pittman is creating this almost dystopian city that features egg monuments as these really stark feminine contrasts to the typical masculine architecture that makes up most major city skylines. So think of the form of typical buildings and towers. And the title of the show is Sparkling Cities with Egg Monuments, and this is referring the presence of these egg monuments in each of the fictional cities that he's depicted. This work is the largest of the show, really the centerpiece of the show, and it measures over 33 feet long. Downstairs is a small exhibit of works by Arcmanoro Niles, and it's a series of new works on paper that capture the quiet moments that linger in memory. And if you're familiar with Niles's work, you may notice that these look quite different from his usual style. He usually uses these bright neon colors and even glitter. It's pretty incredible. And these works take on a much more muted color palette, leaving these large areas unfilled to sort of purposefully highlight the negative space, which I think strategically captures the reality of memory and how we piece together details, but we're often missing these large gaps. To create these works, Arcmanoro took photographs from his personal archive, whether they were family photos or photos taken on old cell phones, and he used these photos to depict these personal scenes where individuals are having moments of relaxation or reflection. The next stop of the day is Jack Shaman Gallery to see an exhibit of works by the late Brazilian artist Emanoel Araújo. And this marks his first major gallery survey in New York since the 1980s, and it features works created from the 1970s until his passing in 2022. So through this, it's really nice because you can see the evolution of his practice. The works at the beginning of the show were inspired by Bahia, which is an epicenter of Afro-Brazilian culture where he spent his childhood, as well as his African ancestry. And he actually went on to found the Museu Afro-Brazil in Sao Paulo in 2004 because he was so committed to preserving his unique Afro-Brazilian heritage. Later on in his career, we can really see him comfortably moving back and forth between these two styles. So the one of his earlier career, where he was creating these strictly geometric abstract sculptures, and then these very detailed sculptures with very clear African iconography that he created later in his life. I think it's really impressive as well how many works he was able to create at the very end of his life. Many of the works in the show are from 2021, which is just a year before he died. The final exhibit of the day is at Nicola Vassell Gallery, and I will tell you, I have been looking forward to this show ever since Rouy announced it on his Instagram months ago. I am just such a fan of his work, and I always see his pieces at art fairs, at Perez projects, so I was really excited to finally see a solo show of his paintings. Rouy lives and works in London, and he creates these paintings, in my opinion, that have the perfect balance between figuration and abstraction. But even the way that he does abstraction is unique. He creates these really hazy, dreamlike qualities within a painting. I'd honestly just love to see him in the studio to see what his process is like. This is his first exhibit with Nicola Vassell, and in these new works, he's really trying to capture the dynamic chaos of what it really means to be human. So when speaking to Culture magazine, he said, quote, "Something I've learned over time while painting is that the works are entirely about the human essence and everything that comes with it, the good things, the bad things, and the things undefined." The final stop of the day is to Hauser and Wirth's brand new hub in Chelsea. I'm calling it a hub because it's honestly a lot more than a bookstore. They will be bringing back the famous Roth bar. There's an exhibition space. But as you all know, if you're regulars on this channel, I love a bookstore, and I really, really love Hauser's bookstore. And this one is a great one. It's obviously a little bit smaller than their LA space, but it still has this really great selection of art books. So very happy that they decided to expand their footprint in Chelsea. And that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I have so many incredible things to share with you all in October. There will be Periplu in Paris. There will be a little bit of Italy sprinkled in there. So you definitely don't want to miss out on those. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And I will see you all in my next video.